All right, here we go again. Another day, another developer or staff team reaching out to me with a bad Roblox game that they want me to play and say is good. Yeah, you've seen this one before. You've heard this one before. But they keep coming. They keep coming, guys. Like, I can't... it's not gonna stop unless people stop, right? Whatever. Okay, this time I've left Jojo behind. We're taking a look at a Demon Slayer game. And here's the thing, I have to be very upfront with you right off the bat that I know very little about Demon Slayer. I've never watched it, I know pretty much nothing about it, but here's the deal. Even if I know nothing about the media that something is based off of, the game should still be able to be fun or understandable for someone who hasn't seen the media. A great example of that is YBA. Because YBA, I had never watched Jojo nor knew anything about it before I started, and it's pretty much the backbone of my channel. So if there's a bunch of things that I complain about in this game that are solved by you should have watched the show lol, that's not an excuse. Anyways, I got reached out to by Celestial Stridon. I'm gonna blur a fair amount of this message just in case the things that they told me are supposed to be confidential. But basically, they said that they wanted me to play their game. They've been working super hard on it. It's super unique, you know, it's gonna have things on Roblox that no one's ever seen before, yada, 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 yada. The same stuff we've seen a million times. So unfortunately for me, I decided to take a look. Logging into Burning Ashes, the first thing that I noticed was that I could not run. Not being able to run, kind of annoying. But then there was something odd. I saw other people running. So they are allowed to run, and I'm not. Immediately my mind jumped to the worst possible conclusion. So I dabbed out and I went to the Game Passes page. And thankfully, thank God, there was not a sprint Game Pass, or I would have Alt F4'd right there. I combed through every single settings menu available. I combed through the description of the game. I almost went to Google how to run in Demon Slayer Burning Ashes until I realized that there would probably be no results, so there's no point. And I sort of resigned myself at that point to just slowly walking and dashing around the map because running is for other people, I suppose. I talked to this first NPC here who's supposed to be a helper, and they didn't help whatsoever. When I talked to them about how to be a Slayer, they told me, go past final selection. After that, you can go to Swordsmith to get your Nishirin katana. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Now, what the hell is final selection? Where the hell is final selection? And how do I complete it? All those questions will not be answered by the helpful villager, because the helpful villager is anything but helpful. This is the worst advice ever. I'm completely new. I have no idea where to go. And the answer to where I'm supposed to go past final selection. Awesome. Thanks. I talked to some other NPCs. I found one that just decided to give me a rusty katana for free. So, you know, that works out. And then I accidentally hit a keybind that got a UI stuck on my screen that I couldn't figure out how to get rid of, so I reset the game. Coming back and seeing as there's no directions whatsoever, I suppose it's wandering time. My favorite. I was in the graveyard and one of the people in here was talking about there being too many cheaters in Tarkov. Don't I know it, man, trust me. But moving past that, I finally found a cave pretty close to the spawn that had demons in it. So, it's time to fight. Fighting means we get to talk about combat. And combat, oh man, this has got to be one of the most archaic, janky systems for playing combat in a game I've seen. Never mind the first impressions that I get when it comes to quality of animation and all that kind of stuff basically go out the window. I mean, seriously, look at this. I'm gonna play this with nothing in the background, and you tell me what you think of it. Okay, what were your takeaways? Because mine were, there are literally no sound effects while I'm slicing someone's head off, number one. And number two, the person starts to stand up after they get their head chopped off, and then they teleport and then disappear. What? What happened here? Did the sound effects which were supposed to be here get copyright claimed? Did they get removed from the game? Or did they forget? Did somebody just decide that maybe the execution sound effects shouldn't exist? This is so awkward. Why is it like this? And this is when we sort of run back to the very beginning of the video where the person says, we put our heart and soul into this game. We worked so hard on it. You worked so hard that you forgot sound effects and decided to leave a janky animation in. For how long? For how long did you do that? I say this time and time again when it comes to these games, but first impressions are really important. And when my first impression is, how did they forget their sound effects 30 seconds into the game, we're in a lot of trouble. As for the archaic, janky combat, well, that's what we're going to talk about right now. So we're going to be getting a bit ahead of ourselves when it comes to me just playing the game, so that way we can cover combat. Well, how do I even explain this? It's like they had 3 systems in place for how their combat and move systems worked, and I don't really know why. It seems very, very backwards, but I'll explain it. So basically, when you learn moves, they're moved onto your hotbar. So that means if you want to use M1s with your katana and then use a move, you have your katana out with the number 1 key, then you switch over to a different move with your number 2, 3, 4, etc. key, and then you can use the move. But then if you want to attack again with your katana, you need to hit 1 to take it back out. Now, you can go into the menu and set specific keybinds for specific moves. So, for example, if you hit X to use, I don't know, a heavy slash or something, I just made that up, then it will automatically switch to that tool and use that move. But then, after you use the move, you're still on that move tool. So if you want to M1 again, you have to re-equip your katana. There was a setting in the settings menu, which was like katana equip or something, but when I used that, even if I tried to use an M1 after using a move, the first punch was still with my fists and not the katana. Now the other thing is that every time you die or respawn or what have you, then all of these different items and moves that you have randomize around your hotbar. And again, there's something in settings that you can use to circumvent this. So you can make it so certain tools are automatically assigned to certain parts of your hotbar. But my question is, why is all of this so needlessly complicated? If you were gonna go through so much effort to make this game, like, I don't know, potentially fun to play, why didn't you spend the extra time to make it so that way, rather than having a bunch of tools that are assigned to moves, instead you just have the moves and then you can assign those moves when you unlock them to keys. And you don't need to constantly be switching around to a bunch of different stuff on your hotbar, or going through a whole bunch of menus to make sure things are assigned to the right place, so that way when you die, you don't respawn and then look like an idiot while you're trying to hit someone with the wrong tool. The point is, it all feels needlessly complicated, and surely there was a better system that could have been used here. Surely. But I think what probably happened is the developers were like, nah, this is good enough, and we'll just do some band-aids to make it at least work, and that's the end of it. But that's not good enough. If you want the game to be good, you can't just band-aid everything together. You need to make an actual system that's intuitive, and isn't just running around through a whole bunch of menus trying to make it work, and you get the idea. I don't need to explain this any further. Okay, so that's the system, but how's the actual combat? Against AIs, it seemed pretty brain dead. I didn't run into any AIs that I couldn't, like, kind of completely cheese, and when they start ganging up on you, it's really obnoxious, just like basically any other game like this. PvP, on the other hand, I can't really super comment on, because as per usual with these sorts of games, it's one of those things where people who have been playing for a long time or know how to play, like Bloxfruit, can just instantly kill you in like 3 hits, and you need to hit them 100 times to kill them. Case in point, this stupid fuckhead who was literally sitting directly outside of the spawn point for, I assume, everyone in the game, just killing people as soon as they spawned in. Yeah, speaking of good first impressions, what good first impression is this? Every time I spawn, this fuckhead is waiting back here. He hits me maybe 3 times, and I have no health and can't run. I hit him 100 times, and does it matter? No, because he's a much higher level and is basically immortal compared to me. Okay, so that was combat, but we gotta circle back, because we got way ahead of ourselves. I did eventually find a quest that was just simply to kill demons. Kill 12 demons. Is it fun? No. Does it give me money and XP? Yes. So here we are. I did that, got some levels, got some money, you know the idea. I even figured out how to run. It turns out that to run, you double tap W. I hate games that use double tap W to run. Not only that, but why was this not in the controls? Come on, seriously? You expect everyone playing to know that double tap W is to sprint. You don't do that. You tell people that double tap W is to sprint. Or, alternatively, you be smart and do not make double tap W to sprint. Thank you in advance, game developers. Eventually, I found these two people on top of a hill, decided to talk to them, and one told me I needed to learn breathing, whatever the hell that meant, and the other told me that I needed $1,000. Both things I didn't have. I remembered someone saying something about breathing back in the town, went back there, got the breathing thing I needed, also got $1,000, and then I went back. This is where I unlocked my style, I think, as well as getting a move from this person, who, as far as I can tell, either gives you random moves or gives you a set assigned move for $1,000. I honestly couldn't tell you which. After getting these moves, I decided to wander around, and wander around I did. This game is 99.99% wandering around and 0.01% actually playing the game. Seriously, I played this for over an hour, and I would say that roughly 45 minutes of my game time was relegated strictly to wandering around the wilderness, not finding anything. Here's the thing about open world games. When you're making open world games, you have basically three options. You can make a small, condensed world with a whole lot of things to do in it, jam-packed in a relatively small area. You can make a large, sprawling open world with a lot of cool things to look at, as well as some things sprinkled around so that way your players don't get bored. Or you could be this game and so many others, which make a massive world with nothing in it that has basically no purpose to explore the world, but also force players to explore the world, which is 90% barren, empty wasteland, in order to find things to do. This is evidently the worst option when you're making an open world game. Seriously, why is there so much open, empty space? What is the purpose of having so much open, empty space? There aren't even NPCs, like random enemies, to populate a whole lot of this empty space. While I was playing, I found one. That's right, one interesting thing. When I was in the snow area, I found a whole bunch of trees on a cliffside, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. Trees don't grow out of cliffs. So I climbed all the way up to the top, and when I got to the top, there was someone there. Brilliant. And I talked to them, and they told me to fuck off because I was too weak. Wonderful. So you're telling me the singular, one good thing that I potentially found by exploring says fuck off. Awesome. Just awesome. My wandering brought me high and low to all sorts of different places on the map, all populated with NPCs that basically exclusively told me to fuck off because I already learned a style right at the beginning of the game, so they don't want to have a word with me. Like, seriously? Once you get a style, is there any point of wandering around randomly? Probably not. At least it doesn't seem that way to me. And remember, the reason I'm wandering around is because the very first NPC that I talked to, which is supposed to be helpful, told me to pass the final trial or whatever, which I still haven't found. At some point, I did end up in another village, and in this village was the sword master or whatever that they talked about earlier, the one that would give me my katana if I was, I passed the trials. And take a wild guess as to what happened when I talked to him. Yeah, he told me, go become part of the Demon Slayer Corps. You're not right now, fuck off. In other words, you need to pass the final trial, asshole. I won't tell you where it is, but you need to pass it. Are you serious? Wander around some more, asshole. Okay, I will. Fine, have it your way. I wander around some more, and here's some random people. What do you think happens when I run into random people into the wilderness? Take a wild fucking guess. They gank me and I die. Whoa! Who would have guessed? This game's awesome! No, it's not. Don't play this.